prepare like a, sorry. Prepare the design development. I know that you guys saw my jacket variation demo when you guys were junior. I mean, like getting one good idea and then adding some swipe and then do like a sister design and put it together toward the end to see what the outcome looks like. And then you can add it out, you know, thing that you don't like, and then you keep the one you like. But keep the design more cohesive. Rather than maybe the first way you can kind of try all different kind of way. Now you kind of know what to do. So now you have to really hone it down. What's your content? What's your like main interest? What's the fabric story? What will be the like, you know, your treatment? So you can really focus on that, and then you do the variation so you can finish with the project a little quickly. So these are the like all the our color story at the bottom as the direction said. Okay, so I'm just giving you a simple example. I did a two like design stories. So one is a little bit more busy, more complicated. Fabric kind of see it. I'm coming up with the idea, of course, not only the from the color story. I'm trying to, for this demo, I'm trying to use his lace as much as possible. And then getting my my solid coming from this color underneath. And then, I mean, when you start designing, I mean, I'm not saying you only need to do this shape, but that's initial kind of, you know, inspiration for me because of the wave movement and things like that. I thought that that kind of goes well. So I mean, just to inspire me, I just put it there. So as I researched a little bit more along with this one, what could be the proper kind of treatment that I can add to this? So I have this one here, and I know it's kind of complicated, but that looks like kind of wave. And then I found this one that has like a different kind of layers, not the real layer, piecing together. Some of them are opaque, some of them are more sheer, but I like the way the seam is kind of overlapping, not really flat, that kind of mimicking the wave, more clean wave than this. So I'm using that as my basic influence and basic inspiration for my idea. And then looking at the neckline, this is his design, and I like this kind of double layer bust looking. So I was researching other stuff, and other design, of course, they do like, you know, the similar idea but different kind of way. But this is different. How I like the how Stella McCartney's design. This part is underneath, and then that lace goes on top of the solid, you know, kind of almost interacting, kind of interesting kind of way. And then here is the same thing. So using that information and then try to see what I can do with that. So I'm trying to kind of clean up my idea, to make sure that I understand my direction clearly. So this is story A. I'm gonna do double layer bust emphasis. So I'm using some of these ideas as inspiration. And then overall feeling of the silhouette, I'm trying to get a little bit loose, relaxed shape. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna only do this shape. I will do variation, but still that will be my initial kind of inspiration. Now, as far as the treatment goes, this was the one that I found, and then I found one more thing that has almost rippling kind of tiny ruffle that could be inserted here. So if you need to have more drama, that might be the perfect idea. So these are my kind of ingredient in terms of like, if I'm saying as a cooking, that's my ingredient. I'm trying to use them consistently. Okay, so here's my first design. These design like this more like crocky flat, so it's not really precise, more like a sketches, I would say. So I'm trying to use all this lace, 3 lace, because even though that's a little different color, but it's coming from here, that kind of has a different shape of the lace, more tighter, maybe this one green is more open up, and the third one is more chunkier. So I'm trying to use a chunky one at the neckline, and then the other one here, second one here, and the third one here, using this silhouette as much as possible. But I know I'm trying to keep this element as much as possible. So double layer bust, which I did the brise underneath, and then that layer on top, and then mini ruffles and then loose shape. So I'm trying to keep my roll consistent. So as I'm doing my second variation, okay, I need to keep this roll that I need to keep, you know, I promised myself I'm trying to keep it, but I'm trying to use different way. Still, it looks like a double kind of bust line, double layered bust line, and this one as well. But the way I use is a little different. I'm trying to integrate my lace, 2 different lace. Sometimes I cut it maybe this way. Some might be I'm using on the upper area. So I mean, still the same lace, but depends on how you use it. It will look different. So it's a double layer, and then triple layer actually. So you're using lighter gray here, and then medium gray green here, and then all, because this is the darkest color, I'm trying, that will draw attention mostly. So I'm trying to use it more on my bust area more than anything else. I don't want to go too heavy all of a sudden. I'm trying to create more gradual kind of look. So these are my sister 2, sister 3, all story 8. And I have more sister coming up because I cover a lot of this shape. So I thought maybe I can do a little bit longer, more like a slightly softer shape rather than full shape. But still, I'm keeping still this idea consistently, using my darker lace around like upper area. Not only the neckline, maybe I can use maybe a little bit of the shoulder piece, but still I'm doing this double layer idea, you know, consistently, and then trying to get my angle so my eye goes to the upper area. That's my main focal point, rather than at the bottom. Like when you cut your bias, everything should be a little, everything should be a little bit more softer rather than really tight. I don't have any waistline really tight to my waistline. I need to have a little bit of the ease. So I have all 5 things together. So I'm gonna have all side by side, line up. The reason I draw a waistline for all my flats, but towards the end, and you put it together, you can kind of see the merchandising. You might say, maybe these two are the similar, I like this one better, or maybe that one better. So you can edit out the better one that you have, but still covering the different silhouette, different lengths, and make sure that I cover all different kind of neckline. So you're kind of good to go to the next stage, which is maybe your illustration, you design your bag, you know, things like that. But I'm trying to utilize my main concept consistently off the same fabric combination and off the same mood board. That's my story A, okay? Now with this first initial one, I gave it to Leah as a collaboration, and she did the illustration here. And then we had a Nicole do the rendering of the lace. That the lace rendering parts Nicole did, the basic drawing is Leah did. It's really pretty. My flat is just a flat, but she made it like little magical things. So everything really pretty. And I know a lot of you guys have this kind of silhouette or something that you need to kind of look at, okay? And then we had the Arako who graduated like 3 years ago, and then she worked on really a lot of like dress projects. She has a very good hand touch. We asked her to do the like, you know, as a volunteer to hand flat. This is a hand flat, and along with Leah's illustration. So something that, you know, if not only the illustration flat, I mean the appropriate flat, if you are good at hand flat, I think you should keep your hand drawing quality consistently. Okay, here's my second story. I'm trying to do a little bit more neutral, more like a muted, like a neutral base color as compared to first one, which has a lot of green color, but still I'm getting a little touch of the green because of water. And then I like the sand, I like the wet sand, the dry sand, and this wave creating this line, which is like for everybody actually. And then I like this, I mean, all the fabric is his fabric. I'm trying to use his fabric as much as possible. I'm trying to keep this a little bit simple. So when I narrow down my stripe, I'm trying to use more graphical, kind of bold and simple, rather than girly and like, you know, a lot of ruffle. But this one I want to go so totally opposite. But in order to create the interest, I might use like a partial shearing to create the more texture, like in a visual texture. And then for the treatment, I want it to be like kind of graphical too. The way they put the sheer, I mean the lace and the solid together, but not as a straight line, that's still creating this curvy line. Also, maybe at the edge, you can kind of have a little bit of raised edge, which means you don't kind of anchoring down the edge of this black solid. You stitch a little bit inside, so this will create like a soft ruffle area. And then when you apply your solid to lace, a little bit more cleaner kind of way, rather than, you know, right, you can see like kind of gradation, like a kind of abstract way. I want it to be more clear cut. So, and then other detail that I was thinking, maybe for this one, I can do play with like a multi skinny strap. So creating more like a delicacy to my design, because I'm keeping my design more clean and simple. Okay, so I'm making a little kind of story. So I know, and I remember what I did. So I'm doing the multi-strap, and I'm adding a little shearing for certain part. I'm doing my solid and lace very graphical way, and then that applies to my my treatment idea, which you have to make it later on. The lace applique, maybe I need to cut the background out if I'm putting more like the piecing, so it's more graphical as well. These are my kind of common element that I need to play with my story B. Okay, so here I'm keeping the shape very simple, but I'm using only 2 fabric. But this is your lace, and then that's my linen, like a lightweight linen, but I'm cutting the edge like this way. And then in the middle, I'm adding some lace cutout here, and then apply on top of it as applique, but I'm cutting out the background of the solid, so you can see the skin color showing through. So I'm kind of integrating this and this different kind of way. You can see the skin, but this is coming from this lace. I'm using only 2 lace. I'm putting shearing and then multiple strap. Then my second and third one, I'm trying to keep the shape a little bit different than my first group, like a story 1. So I'm trying to have a little bit lower blouson shape and a little asymmetrical boxy kind of box that collapses. And then I'm trying to use this one of the neckline, but it could be sometimes symmetrical, sometimes asymmetrical. And then using some lace cutout, like background cutout thing, like, on the top up here, and then sometimes at the corner a bit, but I will use the lace edge around my armhole, sometimes a neckline, but keep my strap idea kind of various. I don't repeat the same thing. So my emphasis will be upper area. And then 4 and 5, I'm still using it like a different shape. And then the way I apply lace will be different position. And then the way I place my cutout, the background cutout lace will be different too. And then here, I'm exaggerating the side piece a little bit. I mean, this is end of underarm area. So this will be collapsing, but the solid area kind of mimicking the silhouette of the body. So this will be soft area on the figure, and then this will be more like a rigid area on the body. So I'm putting all the shearing and shearing. So I'm trying to use all this element. That's kind of common element that I try to carry consistently throughout all my design. And then I'm really trying to use all the fabric that's Jonathan's fabric. But little keep it simple. So every outfit only I'm using 2 fabric as opposed to the first group. I use 4 or 5, maybe 3 different lace and then 3 different solid. I'm keeping this one very simple so I can show the differences. Depends on your preference. So everything I'm gonna lay up together at the waistline to see and then check the balance. I might say, oh, I don't have this, so that's good. And this might be a little kind, I already have similar one for my other story, and just example. Then I don't need that, with this I don't have. So you kind of see the whole picture so you know what's missing and then what could be done better, okay? So as a sum up, to recap the process of design. So I mean, in order to be consistent now, you have to think about what's like a main story. So you don't design something like one by one that's not relating, that's not really creating any story. By this time you might, and according to your fabric story, you make a decision, and we collect the image for your sequence, and that's what we did. And we collect the image that we did, and then collect the swipe, shape we did. Now you have to separate it, which swipe of the silhouette and neckline goes to your first group and the second group. So you can really focus on those. Now, what's the like a main detail area? Are you doing like, crochet thingy? Are you doing destroying your lace? Are you doing kind of collage of the lace? What's the story about your treatment? So it's different. And then altogether, you will sketch based on your consistent design concept. So you will be really focusing on idea, and then it's easier to the sister design, and you'll be done with the design really quickly without wasting a lot of your time, okay? So that's you doodle. I mean, I doodle like a little bit using my template, and then, it's really important you color, because we're doing a lot of color blocking. As you're doing your croquis, when you're doing like, initial like a doodling, use some color so you can kind of see what's that look like, so you can refine it later. Okay, that's it for my presentation.
Okay, so first I'm gonna start with the final version of the completed illustration. Okay, I'll share the screen. So this is the final version. It's pretty much the same one that Sumi just showed it. I just did more completed one with the illustration. You may use a little bit of the colored background, and then the image of the swatches, the same flat that Ara did it for us. And then So the top part is charmeuse, which is shiny fabric. It's not transparent. The skirt part is a double layer. The top layer, the chiffon, and the second layer is also chiffon with a little different color. The top layer is trimmed with the lace. The bottom layer is a chiffon as is. So I'm gonna show you I'll just use the background basic, the bottom, just plain rendering. And then, I use the Nicole's lace rendering, and then which has a separate demo. She recorded it and she put it on the YouTube. I put the link on the nest that you guys see later on, okay?
We put a lot of fabric on this so you can see the difference in terms of the rendering. So she can show you, she can do the demo, all different kind of fabrication here.
So I recorded it and I just fast forwarded because I know that you guys are gonna fall asleep for the hour demo, but I'm gonna just as a commentary so you guys can see better that, okay? Hold on, let me just close it. So, okay, just kick me out again. Okay, this one. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it's a Procreate. So that's the figure and tracing I put with the skin tone underneath, which you guys already know how to do, right? So I started with the blue color, which is charmeuse. So I have all the different layers with by the pieces. I start with the broad piece, which is just under piece, and then it's just dark blue. So I just simply fill in. It's a small, solid piece. So it will be covered with the charmeuse fabric, and then the lace I just fill in regardless. Okay. Then, but still, it's just practice the habit. I just still put the shadow and a little bit of the highlight just in case, because I just trained myself like that. And I didn't, I forgot to ask Sumi what fabric is. It's just I just assumed that it may be a kind of shiny charmeuse. Yes. I just put a little bit of highlight as a practice. And then best tool that I use is airbrush, like soft airbrush tool with a little bit of smoothing, highlights. Okay. Otherwise, I use the line brush tool, which is the most easiest way to handle it. And I use the Simkai palette that Nicole developed. And that's a charmeuse, the bodice part. So first I just fill with I would say like a number 2 shade, which is the true color of the fabric. Just fill in the whole section. Don't worry about the shadow or highlight, just, like a color book coloring. With the same density, no highlight, no shadow, just fill in. It's easy. So you always keep your line layer separate, and then I just always put the layer on top, so you can see the the line underneath. On the top. Okay, and then the edge of where the lace and the body part overlap, just leave like about a ½ inch kind of seam allowance. And then now I start to put the shadow with the airbrush tool. So it's gonna be like kind of soft and subtle. So for the darker, the shadow side, maybe 2/3 of it, put it with a shadow, like a darker color of the same tone. And then as it goes to lighter side, maybe just 1/3 of it. That part, the bodice part is pretty just plain, like not too much of the pull lines or the seam, but I just exaggerate a little bit to show more rendering. So far, just pretty simple. It's just a true color number 2 and then number 3 shadow. Okay. Just airbrush tool, which is kind of smooth, so it works good with the charmeuse as the soft, shiny fabric. And then I go to just white brush, same airbrush. And then now I'm working on highlights. Okay. And that way it goes the opposite. I just do a little bit of highlight on the darker shadow side, and then more highlights on the lighter side. And then at the top, the toolbar, there's like the finger smudging tool. I use that with like a kind of middle pressure, and then smooth it. Again, I use like a little bit exaggerated highlight, so I can make it you guys. I made it fast forwarded, and then this is this is already uploaded in the nest, so you guys can download it, and then if you want to, you can kind of slow down, make the video a little bit slow, and then you can just, you know, repeat it to look at it. So the fabric is, you know, opaque and it's still shiny, like in a charmeuse or satin. Yeah, I just added more highlights on the lighter side where the light is. Okay, so the upper bodice is almost done. So there's one separate layer. So if I want to change it, I can just change that layer to chiffon or whatever the print later. Okay, now I go to top skirt, which is kind of medium blue. And then I use a little bit lighter, softer airbrush with a medium opacity and just a hint of it. And then go thinner airbrush and then just give a little bit of shadow with a, like, you know, darker blue one. In between the leg and then just the pull lines. And as it goes to the side, just give a little bit of pull line and then make it lighter. Okay, and then as Sumi requested, those area that the lace goes, I just don't put too much of a blue. The lace part, I don't do it because that was the Nicole's job. She, you know, she was working on the lace part in the separate video. I just add a little bit of the shadow with the sew line. The brush too, I didn't use many brushes. All I used was line brush and soft, medium soft, or just a regular hard airbrush. And sometimes I use the smudging, finger smudging tool. I was just keep, you know, I'm not really good with the Procreate. I'm still learning the Procreate, so I'm pretty slow. This one I just fast forwarded it, but you know, my actual speed is not as, you know, not this, you know, fast. I'm just like you guys. So sometimes I just keep going back and forth, you know, add a color and come back and erase it. And so, but you know, one thing is I just name all my layers because I don't even know which layer is which, so I just name it. It may take time, but you know, it will help you a lot. So if you don't train yourself that way, you know, it's starting right now. Okay, so that's the bottom layer, which is, you know, dark blue gray. So, you know, don't have to be, you know, exact, you know, and accurate. Just make it like a kind of foggy and then very light, airy. Okay, doesn't have to be perfectly shaped. You can always come back and erase it. See, I just hide the top layer so I can see the shadow better on the under layer only. The top blue layer is hiding right now, so you'll see right the blue layer right now. So I'm only working in the under layers because I wanted to see the skin tone and then the under layer only. So that's good thing about
doing more like a watercolor kind of way using computer.
You know, sometimes the students say, you know, I want to do watercolor way, but you know, we're using the computer. You know, we can do watercolor way in the computer, and then, you know, without the water. Sometimes it's more convenient. So I got the under layer, and then now I'll make the top layer visible on top of it, and then I'll double check if that's all the layers are still transparent enough. See, I thought it was a little too dark, so now I'm erasing back because it's too heavy. And when I'm erasing that, you know, I make a big eraser tool with a very light opacity, so it's going to be very soft and subtle. And then make it visible and keep checking. On and off, on and off. And sometimes I keep the separate layer of shadow and highlight, and then just adding on and off, like in the last touch of makeup. That's a separate layer of shadow. I just keep it separate. This one I recorded it in the nighttime, so it's a little bit contrasty. Actually, my original work was a little, less contrast than this one. See, I'm just checking with opacity. Sometimes you can adjust with opacity for your transparency. See, I can still see the skin tone. The skin tone part, very see-through, but there is the place where Nicole's lace work's gonna be overlaid. And Sumi was keep telling me like 1,000 times that the lace has to show the skin tone underneath. So then that's a little ruffle part. Keep it simple. Don't make it. If you just keep touching it, that ruffle's gonna get heavy and chunky. So then it's gonna losing the delicate look of it. Then I'm just popping up the undershadow a little bit. So pretty much the bottom, the base rendering is done, right? And then now I'm transferring Nicole's lace work, which was ready. And then place the lace layer. Right? See how easy it is?
Easy. Someone did it for you. Huh?
Right? Somebody did it for me. Okay, so that's a part one. And then the part two is like, fixing and touching up, and then just make it kind of prettier. That's part two, is 7-minute demo, and I'm gonna show you in the afternoon at the end of the class. But if you want, you can go to Nest and then see while you're waiting for me, Aaron, or Sumi. Okay? That's the part two is how to adjust and clean up all those details and stuff. Okay. See? Yeah, that's it.